It's the Kaiju No.8 B-Side,
B-Side,
Volume 1. They're only doing 2 of these, which I'm kind of bummed about.
Yeah, so it's to my understanding that basically they have like 3 stories,
Yes.
and so it's going to be 1.5 on this one and 1.5 on the next.
So this is Hoshina and Kikarou in this one. Kikarou's story is going to start the next one, and then it's going to go into Gen Narumi's.
Yeah, I'm like the guy with the eyes.
With a cool sword gun thing.
Yeah.
Kafka's new captain, where he gets transferred to that crew.
Yeah.
Spoilers if you didn't read the mangas.
Yeah. So this takes place right after this book.
Okay.
So I've started reading this. I've finished reading this, obviously. So the way this series opens is they're like, "Oh, okay, we're all done covering the new people from the third division, the new recruits, but we want to catch up with you really quick." So this book is actually them interviewing and talking with and going through the day of the life of those recruits.
Oh.
So this actually transitions in to, at least as far as I've read like a chapter of it so far. So all the filler seems to be taking place so that's this and the day off OVA that we're going to be covering in the main event. All seem to be taking place right after the Shingo Mihara fight, which is the big fungal kaiju, the Kaiju No.8 fight, and the
Number 9
Hoshina versus Kaiju No.8 fight as well. That big event, and it's going to be 2 weeks after, because it's after their dinner celebration.
Yes.
That seems to be the time period before the base gets attacked by Kaiju number 10. That seems to be where all of the filler takes place.
Yeah. So far. And we really thought that the OVA for the OVA for the movie that they were going to include was going to be this story. So we made sure to read this, because this came out like the week before the theater run for Mission Recon. But it wasn't. Which is cool. It's cool. So we saw something new.
The descriptions were kind of similar.
Yeah, because this is sort of the Hoshina story in here is sort of his day off. He's kind of like not actively on duty when this goes on, so he's off, but he's sort of visiting this base at the time. This is a prequel, actually, or a flashback, sort of.
Yeah.
Hoshina's story is, at least.
Yeah, Hoshina's story is, it's about how he comes to be the vice commander of the 3rd Division, but also it's him on his day off being kind of shadowed by this TV crew, and they're like, "Oh, like, can you show us some of the sword training and stuff like that?" And there's some funny comedy bits as well. So like, I can kind of see where we thought that hey, it's just a adaptation of this manga, so we got to read it before we watch Mission Recon. I guess we'll get into the story.
Yeah. It's really cool because he fights these kaiju here.
Yeah.
And this guy totally reminds me of Bemular from Ultraman. Like,
yes.
I'm like, if they tried to make like a super realistic version of Bemular, like made it look like an actual like Earth creature, like this looks like Bemular to me.
Yeah. Really, really cool. So essentially, TV crew stops him like, "Hey, like we would like to ask you a few questions," and if you know anything about Hoshina, he is very insecure about him being a swords fighter and not being able to use guns at all. He has like a zero release energy with guns.
Yeah.
So his whole career in the Kaiju task force has been people kind of talking down on him, being like, "Oh, he's useless. Like,
who uses swords?"
Like, he's just gonna be like a background. He's gonna pick off like aftermath kaiju.
Even his
like,
dad used to be commander. He's like, dude, they don't use swords anymore. Like, just give up. Like,
yeah,
he was put down his whole life. I mean, even as a kid.
Yeah, so he's very, very sensitive about it. So, he's a little apprehensive, and of course they walk him into the sword fighting dojo, which was exactly where he didn't want to end up being, because for years while he was with the Defense Force, they tried to get him to retire from being an active member and just being a sword teacher as like an elective.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, go take sword classes.
Yeah.
Like, just in case for some reason this pops up when you're fighting kaiju, you run out of ammo or something.
Yeah.
Like, and he was like, no, I do not want to do that. So everyone's like, oh, come on, like, let's duel, like, let's have a fight. And he's just like,
he's kicking everyone's butt.
Yeah, he's like 360 no scoping these people.
Yeah.
Like,
Kikarou is the only one that comes a little close, but not even that close.
Yeah. So it jumps into the flashback of like, okay, well, this is how I actually joined the 3rd Division. So it's his day off, and he gets called over to do a visit. Just come over to the 3rd Division. So Mina's looking for her vice commander. She has a vice commander, but like it's not jiving. He's actually the guy I think ends up being the vice commander of the 1st Division. I think is a younger version of him. I'm not 100% sure. But they look very similar.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. You might be right now that you're saying that.
Basically the guy that's like, get off your butt and stop playing video games and go kill this kaiju. I think it's a younger version of him.
That could be.
But basically, he's the whole time that he's watching Hoshina, because they weren't supposed to go into a combat mission, but Hoshina's like, I have my gear with me. I might as well come with you guys on this mission. I know I was supposed to just visit, but he was offered the vice commander role at the beginning, but he thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
So he was like, we'll see. You don't actually want me. You're trying to trick me into coming here because this is where the sword fighting dojo is. So they go on this mission. These Bemular looking kaiju come out, and they shoot out this like acid.
Yes.
I guess. So, Hoshina has a couple of close calls. He's getting backed up by the squad. Mina's up at her perch. She's,
just taking them out,
sniping. But the vice commander that is there currently, he's like basically like on babysitting duty. Like, oh, don't do this, don't do that. I can't watch you. You have to be over here. Like, he's not really letting Hoshina do anything. And he gets in one fight with one of the kaijus. He barely survives it. And he's like, that's enough. He's like, I'm giving you direct order. Like, stand down. He's go in the back. Like, you're not going to be front lines. And the squad's a bit overwhelmed and ill-equipped to deal with this, because there's a lot more after kaiju than they were expecting. So what ends up happening is that one pops out and he's like, oh,
it's a big one too.
It's like, there's like a family over there. Like, I got to go save them. And they're like, no, we got to wait for backup. Like, we can't, like, we're all going to die if we go and do that.
Yeah.
So he's like, screw that. Screw the orders. I'm going.
Yeah.
So he's doing his best. He's fighting this thing. Like, he saves the family, like all this stuff. And of course, what happens all the time, he's in his last string, just like the Kaiju number 10 fight, is push himself to his limits. And then Mina comes in, boom, problem solved.
Yeah. So
he kind of sees like, oh, like this actually worked out like really well. Like, we actually work very well together. So she's like, so like, what did you think of my offer? Like, and he's like, I thought it was a joke, but he's like, yeah, he's like, I'll come on. And that's basically the abridged version of the story. And then of course it cuts back to them in the dojo and Kafka just being an absolute goof and challenging him to another fight and him just getting his ass handed to him on a silver platter.
Yeah, no, the Hoshina story is really cool. And then he even there's another part we left out is where he dives into one of their mouths and cuts it from the inside to save a kid.
That was very, very cool.
Pretty cool story. Really cool character. Gives you some really cool background on him. And then the next one is the Kikarou story, and it's basically a test run in the training grounds against some crustacean kaiju that they had saved, and they're big boys. They're really big, and this is her testing her first special weapon. You know how Hoshina's got her swords, Mina's got her gun. A lot of the big names have these special weapons that were made from other kaiju. So she's using these swords. Now, it's interesting, if you did read the mainline series, she gets an axe. She gets an axe. And even in the movie, we see her with her axe, which is a special kaiju weapon, a numbered weapon. They give her swords. In the manga, when they first show her with the axe, there's always these cool little notes from the creator, Naomi Matsumoto. I love those little notes that he puts in there. Usually between each chapter, sometime. I'm trying to find out an example of one. Of course, I can't. But basically, he showed some swords, and he's like, originally, I wanted to give her swords as her number weapon, but he's like, I felt an axe looked more fitting for her. So he went with the axe. Oh,
yeah, which I thought it was more fitting for her too.
Here's one of those note pages. Pretty cool.
When you when you watch the series, you know, she hates the axe to begin with. She's like, it's such an inelegant weapon. But when you're watching it and when you're reading it, I think in like the test trial fight, I believe she picks up like a giant like iron rebar and uses that to kill a couple of kaijus. And then in the Shigomihara fight, I believe she picks up a traffic sign.
Yeah.
And uses that as a weapon. So she had been using melee weapons naturally throughout the series, which again, like, I think I'm on like my second reread, or this might be like my third reread of the series. And you pick up like little things like every single time you rewatch it or reread it, that you're like, oh man, I didn't notice that. I didn't notice this. So like they were definitely like precursoring, like, yeah, she's going to get a giant melee weapon, which I actually love because I felt like it kept, you know, her character, they've broken so many like female anime character stereotypes with her. Like, she's no nonsense. She's like a big heavy hitter in the series. And on top of that, like, she's in role of authority, and she's got like the big battle axe. You know, they could have made her kind of like her mother's character, where they give her the flight suit and she's more of like a AoE light damage support, and just have Kafka be the big heavy that kills all the kaiju. But no, she's the big heavy.
Yeah.
She goes flying in, boom. And I don't want to spoil the current manga because you're not up to it yet, but like they're like almost setting her up to be like the big thing.
I mean, yeah, from the beginning they're like, oh, her numbers are like crushing anybody in history. Like, she's gonna be like huge.
Yeah, but like you just gotta read, man. 2 more volumes, you'll be up to it. Once they actually release volume 14 in America, you'll be. He's 12. Yeah, 14. Yeah, it should be in 14.
13's coming June 3rd, so 14 maybe August, September, October.
Yeah. So I think it's very fitting that they gave us this fight. Again, I'm thinking this is post Shigomihara, but pre Siege of 3rd Division. And so it starts off, they're in the training room, and this is something I feel like I've noticed with this and a little bit in the OVA that we saw, where she's like hanging out with people from the 3rd Division, that female crew. I'm so bad with the names because they don't pop up very often in the actual Kaiju No.8 series. I feel like we got, it's in this book, the character names. There's a page where they introduce like all the character profiles, and it's the big chick with the blue hair, Haka Igoshashi. I definitely butchered that. In Akari Amase. So basically these two characters.
Yeah.
These two ones. They're like her like female third division friends. They don't get too much screen time in the actual series for some reason. I don't know why, because they're actually really cool characters and the designs are great. Especially the one like the really tall one with the blue hair.
Yeah.
But like they're the ones that like you'll like in the bathhouse scene, like that's who she's like talking with when like the guys are goofing off, showing off their bods to each other. Like it cuts to them like just having like a nice relaxing like bath and stuff like that. And like in this one, you know, like they're usually like her workout buddies, and like in this one like they're working out and like they keep mentioning like, oh, you keep talking about Kafka.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are they said like in the manga they don't have any feelings for each other, but I feel like in the OVA and in this they're trying to make it seem like she does.
Yeah.
At least, which I think is a little weird.
Well, she's just concerned about him as a kaiju, like throughout the whole thing. She's like, "Oh, we made a deal, a promise," and like she just always gotta like she's gotta be the best. That's her thing.
Yeah.
So she's like, "Oh, he's better than me," but nobody knows that he's better than me. Like, so she's always like, "How do I beat this guy?" Like,
yeah. But like there's like a 14 year gap between the two of them. I was like, that's a little weird. They're trying to set that up in the B manga. Yeah. But like they keep kind of making fun of her, like, there you go, you're talking about him again. And she's like, I'm not talking about him. She's like, I hate that guy. But you know, so Hoshina walks up to her and he's like, do you like crab?
Yeah.
Like, oh, like no, he's like, oh, like I want to. He was like, he invited her to something. I forget what it was, but then he mentions, he's like, "Are you allergic to crab, by the way?" And she's like, "Is he asking me out to dinner? Like, is this like a special? Like, what's going on here?" So he's like, "I'll see you tomorrow." So next day rolls around. They introduce her to her giant sword weapon, which kind of looks like the sword from Final Fantasy VII, like Cloud sword. Yeah. They're like, oh, we're going to give this a test run, and they bring her to the training ground, and I guess she's in like a deployment pod or something. I forget what she's in. Oh, it's like a roving vehicle. I think that's what it is. And she's like, what's this other box that's in here? And he's like, don't worry about it. He's like, it's kind of just like leftover equipment.
Yeah.
So she goes out, and what do we see? They are giant crabs.
Yeah.
And that's what she's going to be facing. I guess they want to see, like, if it could break, like, a hard shell. Yeah. Which, funny enough, actually happens in the first fight that the weapon debuts in. Yeah. Her battle axe is those birds with the tough exterior shells. Yep. So, again, like, I understand this came out after, but, like, the foreshadowing, timeline-wise, of everything in this series is always on point. Yeah. It's really amazing, like the amount of detail. I'm trying to see like where this story actually ends up stopping. It's just like her fighting the giant crab.
Then and then she beats it. Then another like bigger one pops up, I believe.
Yeah, another big one pops up, and that's kind of where it ends. And we're gonna get the rest of it in the next B-side that comes out.
Yeah.
So I am like super looking forward to that.
The crab kaiju was really cool.
Yeah, it really was.
I mean, both of the kaiju,
you know, all the
crab
kaiju designs of this
and
the
really, lizard,
they're super creative.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, looking forward to the second B-side. Volume 13 is dropping in June. B-side Volume 2 in September, and then Relax is coming out in December, which is gonna be like another B-side-ish series, but it's like definitely this is gonna be more. That's probably gonna be more like the OVA, where it's literally like they're relaxing. They're like in casual clothes. There's no weapons.
Yeah, maybe we'll get the story of like Kafka overeating and getting sick.
Yeah, that's maybe.
Could you imagine like they just connect this all together?
Yeah. This is
like Relax is the missing link between this book, and the OVA.
Yeah. So yeah, the OVA was pretty cool. I guess we'll get to that now, right? As the main event there.
Yeah.